Yaoling Li, or Rin as most of you guys may know her, is one of the few characters in P5X that has taken the scene by storm. Whether it's over her carefree attitude or either just her amazing looks, she actually can bring a lot to the table, being the first 5-star cursed debuffer. This character brings too much over here, making your team deal a ton of damage, giving tons of debuffs, and shall I go on even being a decent damager herself. So we're going to be going over everything that pertains to this speedster right here, as well as all of her stats, her actual abilities, and just the gear that you're going to be wanting to use on this character as usual. Now, you guys blew up the last one, which was our Joker video. Of course, we're going to be going ahead and doing this one, and you guys should see this maybe a little bit in the afternoon while we're doing our stream. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into it. Of course, wait, I said straight into it. I have to hit you guys with this for 1 second. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It does help out the channel a lot here. But now, let's go ahead and jump straight into the Rin guide. All right, so first things first here, we're going to be looking at Rin's passives, or should you even dupe out this character? And I'm gonna be honest about that second part. You already know you should most likely dupe out this character. She's freaking cracked. But of course, we're going to be going straight into it here. So if we go ahead and click the little button here and we check out her awareness here, you want to check out her passives in general. So her starting at least 0 isn't really too bad, because at the beginning of your turn, for every 10 points of speed you have, you will end up gaining 1 point of memory. Now her whole ordeal with this is actually going to revolve a little bit around her memory stacks, as well as the Ming Fo Soup stacks as well. So you guys really want to pay attention to this. But with each memory stack going up to a maximum of 18 that can be obtained, she's actually able to get 40 memory stacks, and once she actually consumes every last one, she would gain Ming Fo Soup, or Mamba Soup here. Now this is where a lot of her things becomes a little bit crazy, because when you release the skill here, you're gonna have a 50% base chance to inflict forget on one enemy. Now for you guys who don't know what at least forget does, it pretty much makes it so the enemy cannot attack you whatsoever, or at least it can't use any of its skills. It can use basic attacks, but it can't use its skills, of course. This immediately can at least just kind of get rid of one enemy on the field, making sure they can't deal much to your team, of course, and really help you out in the long run. Now going all the way to her first skill here, we're able to actually get a beginning at the beginning of the battle, get one of the Mamba Soup here, which is absolutely amazing, seeing that you can immediately try to start off with this and get a forget on the start here. Now of course, if you have 2 dupes, you get actual level ups into Naughty Lion, which I will get into later. But for her third one, which is Ripples of Separation, every time you inflict pretty much a mitigation effect on one target, it will actually increase her attack by a decent bit here. So it increases her attack up to 10% for 2 turns, going to a maximum of 5 stacks. Now this is where she starts to get a little bit insane. I only have her at 3, but 3 really is where she starts to become a little bit crazy, little bit too crazy here, in which can really change her gameplay. Now of course, if you have her at 4, you get the Ferryman, which, oh my god, don't get me started on Ferryman. One of her freaking skills that actually are insanely powerful, to be honest. That's going to get upgraded. At 5, you didn't actually get the boost to her highlight. Pretty much with her highlight improvement, it will increase the damage dealt to enemies by an additional 20% and causes all of them to get a curse effect. So of course, if you need people to have that curse effect, cough cough for Joker, things like that, and you're going to deal a lot more damage, especially in the long run, seeing that she's helping him out all the time. Now with this said curse effect here is, you will end up taking damage equal to 1% of your maximum life each turn, and this will last for 2 turns. So this DOT effect is actually kind of nice, especially if you're increasing it in general. So and actually giving them this as well. If you have this paired with Joker kind of perfectly, it will absolutely make you a monster. Now going to our 6th one, which I'm gonna be honest with you, unless you are straight up whaling, I highly doubt anyone would be up at this height here. But after consuming Mamba Soup or Ming Po Soup or Fo Soup, there is a 60% chance of a fixed change to get it back. So now no longer are you able to just get the soup here that one time, but you can actually have a chance of keeping it, absolutely making her utterly valuable at just fully dupes. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're free to play, I think the want to say useful one is just going to be getting her duped once. Anything other than that is extra, but of course this character is in the regular character draw, so getting her dupes is probably going to be in the long run for people, and actually is really much so worth it. But that's just one of the things that she can do. Going over for her passives and things, that's literally just it that she can do currently, but we're not done just there. Let's go ahead and get into the skill priority. Okay, getting to her skill priority here, we have a few things that she needs to be seen for, and that is this one immediately. Now, I'm gonna straight up be honest with you. Okay, people, this ferryman. Oh boy, ferryman is one of the few skills I would definitely say get up immediately. Okay, you'll understand the absolute terror of what this can do to people, especially once you have it up, and it's going to be very helpful. So let's just go ahead and go over what it actually does here. It will inflict a 63% cursed attribute damage here for every 10% of, or at least 10 points of speed that you have. Alongside of this, it will reduce the enemy's defense by 3% up to a maximum of 41%. For every enemy hit, you will gain 4 points of memory. Now, once again, her whole passive is built off of this memory as well, so you can get that meaningful soup, and that is what you really want to go ahead and do to immediately just keep on dealing that overall damage, or at least that supportive damage that's going to be very helpful for the rest of your team. So if you have Ferryman upgraded, you are really easily going to be stacking this up, of course, and it will come in handy. Now, the second one I would definitely say go ahead and stack up is going to be Naughty Lion, because mainly you're going to be using this here the second you have your stacks, dealing a ton more damage. Pretty much with this, inflicting 66% or 64% cursed attack damage will cause all enemies to gain a flower of other side. Now, this side effect, of course, for every 10 points of speed you have, damage dealt to enemies is increased by 3% up to a maximum of 46.8%. Now, this effect will be cleared after 2 damage for 2 turns, and Mambo Soup extra effect will actually double the damage boosting of the effect, or at least the effect itself. So if you do have the stacks, cough, Ferryman, and them giving you those stacks here, you got those stacks immediately following up with Naughty Lion, you're going to be doing some absolutely insane damage here, utterly putting the just enemy in a frenzy. This is going to be fairly helpful, that I feel like you should be going for your priority sake second, definitely helping you out overall in general. Now, we do have our skill 2, which I don't really want to what's it called, I don't really want to forget this skill too much here. It's really good, but I just it will probably be the third on my list to get up, besides of course her highlight. But out of the two, I think I might actually enjoy, you guys can probably actually what's it called, can go off of me about this later too as well, because I know the single target's actually really good to get up some of those stacks as well. But I genuinely think the highlight is better to go ahead and get up and then go for this next, seeing that Ferryman and Naughty Lion are really going to be helpful for you. But Jungle on the other side is actually not too bad as well. If you inflict one enemy with 84% of cursed attribute damage to one enemy, the enemy has a mitigation effect. Now, the damage dealt by this skill is increased to 20% if Mamba Soup is active. And of course, with the extra effect here, it will cause the primary target to have a 100% chance to fall and to forget. Now, this is pretty interesting. It's pretty good, to be honest, especially when you're coming down to getting that extra damage from Mamba Soup here, as well as getting that forget. I just feel like the highlight is better to upgrade first before you go ahead and go for this skill. So for me, definitely would say Ferryman #1 priority, Naughty Lion #2, combat skills being the highlight #3, and then Jungle on the other side being #4. You guys can let me know what you think about that in the comment section. But let's go ahead and get into her weapon options. All right, so going into her weapon options here, let's straight up say it. The 5-star, of course, is always going to be the best one. But when it does come down to her other ones that you really want to use, the 4-star is probably going to be your bread and butter, or at least the 3-star until you get the 4-star. Now, I currently only have the 3-star currently for this one, and which does help you with the forgetfulness state here and allows you to deal more damage. But I feel like the 3-star is just a little bit too lackluster. So of course, if you do have the 4-star, that is what you want to go ahead and rock with. So first things first, let's go ahead and go into Yui's banner to actually, what is it called? Check the 4 stars on the banner here. So let's see, can I go and check this real quick? I think we can't. Can we check this real quick? No, we can't. So I gotta actually go ahead and pull this up for you guys. We might have to go to the Y immediately to actually go see what it does. But the 4-star is really where you're gonna have it. Okay, you don't really want to use the 3-star, and the main reasoning for that is just because it's too niche. You need that element damage, or at least that forgetfulness, to even make it work, and which is why I feel like it's kind of lackluster. So let's go ahead and go to a Y shop real quick, so we can actually have the 4-star for you guys to actually look at for a second. But the 4-star is going to be a little bit different because it's going to help her out with the overall damage that we can actually use for the rest of her kit. So let's go talk to the mans real quick, make sure we got this all up here. This is one of the few stinking things I did not actually have, which is crazy. But checking out her 4-star, which is this one. I know I did have it eventually, but you get an attack boost increasing your speed after dealing damage. Now this overall is going to help out her actual kit, so you definitely want to try to use this. Whether you have to get it just once, it's definitely going to be more helpful than the 3-star, because this now applies to everything in her kit, right? It actually applies to no matter what you're doing. This is what you're going to want to use, especially seeing that instead of it being just that niche little subject of, oh, I can only use this when it's forgetfulness. No, I can use this at all times to really help her out. So definitely try to get that 4-star if you can get your hands on it. If you can't, of course, you might be stuck with the 3-star unless you got lucky with the 5-star. But I would definitely highly suggest try to stick with the 4-star, and pray that you get the 5-star off banners, because this thing is absolutely crazy. I mean, if we go ahead and look at it here, its speed improvement is by 15, allowing her to be faster, which is absolutely amazing for her kit. And then when releasing a skill attack to an enemy, the main target of the skill will actually get the forgetfulness one here. Now for at least every 10 points of speed you have, you will actually increase your damage by 1%, allowing this to last for 1 whole turn. And then of course, Mamba Soup, when this skill is released, it would actually spread to all enemies. So remember, Mamba Soup is really going to have a really nice chance of actually making the target forget. So having this weapon utterly is just insane for her kit. So if you don't got the, of course, a 4-star, but you were lucky enough to get the 5-star, you already know what to do. But try to stick with that 4-star if you're trying to be in the free-to-play zone. But let's go ahead and get into her gear set and more. Okay, so going into her best builds here, she does have 3 sets that she's able to run here. Don't follow this Arcana card. I actually need another growth card to be actually her best set here, but mainly you're going to be using power in the growth card. Now, if you guys don't know what the growth card looks like, it's this one here that we have on our Yui, in which really comes in handy to give you those stacking, or at least attack enhancement stacks here. Now, this is really going to help out her gameplay. Of course, with her 3 sets, after doing some testing, you can use these. Of course, this makes her more into that like crazy type supporter role here. This one actually helps out a little bit more with the support, but also in boosting your teammates a little bit from at least the abundance skill, which actually does come in handy, or the trust card here, which does come in handy, to be honest. But I feel like these two are a little bit too focused on her support instead of making her a little bit of a support DPS. What you want to go for is the support DPS type status here. The reason for this is because you do want her to deal her damage. Of course, if you're pairing her with Joker or pairing her with anyone who really needs to thrive off those debuffs, a lot of her kit is also involved on her damage, of course. So being able to do a little bit of both here, while also just helping out your entire team with the attack enhancement levels that you get from the growth card, really make a huge difference when it comes down to this character. So overall, I would definitely support on going with the power set here and using the growth card. Now, when it does come down to the main stats that you guys want to look forward here, of course, this always has to stay HP. As for the main stat here, I would definitely agree with at least keeping a attack percentage. This one I feel like needs to be it's kind of up to you. If you want to do that sub DPS type role, of course, crit rate or crit damage could go very, very well with this character. This is the only crit damage piece I got, and unfortunately for gold pieces, I don't really have that, but we might try crit rate on this character, because let me see, do we have a lot of crit rate or crit damage on this character currently? Okay, so it's like a mixture, so depending on how our stats will look, depends on that. And then of course the final card, you always want speed for her, because the more speed she has, the better. So having a ton of speed on her is also great, and this is where we're actually going to get into the substats. Now, going to her substats, I would either say attack, crit rate, or crit damage, up to you, or maybe both if you can get them, and then have speed. Those will be your absolute bread and butter type stats here if you really want to do that. If you can only get one of each, or let's say you go with crit damage, right? And all your pieces have crit damage. Then your main stat on this piece specifically needs to be a crit rate function instead of a crit damage main stat, of course, because you still want to kind of balance that out. It does kind of help her out in the long run, but if you do have a crit rate stat here instead of the crit damage, you go with a crit damage main stat and try to either, I would like to say, get effect hit rate, to be honest, to make sure that you're proccing what you need for her debuffs, or you can go ahead and go for that damage bonus. Damage bonus is really going to help her out a lot, especially if you're keeping her in that kind of sub DPS type of role here, but it honestly comes down to you. Personally, for me, I'm definitely going to be going for these four, so be sure to look out for this here, of course. Making for attack, speed, crit damage, because we do have some decent crit rate here, crit damage, and I would like to say damage bonus. For me, that's personally my set that I'm going to be going for, because we're trying to make her as much of a support DPS as possible, but you guys can do what you want when it does come down to this. Same goes for her growth card. You can usually put whatever you want on here, in which if we did use a growth card currently, which we don't have one on us just yet, that's actually upgraded, I would definitely try to build around that itself. But now with that going over here, let's go ahead and go into her team comps. Okay, so getting into this character's team comps here, we do have the recommendations, which is just going to be straight up Ren and her, to be honest, when it comes down to her team. But around her, she definitely thrives off of just pretty much dealing damage and doing her debuffs. So if I'm being honest with you guys, if you do have Joker, definitely pair with him, of course. It's definitely going to come into the handy part of it. And then your other character that you can kind of do to make sure they're actually supporting her and keeping her alive, because she might actually get targeted a decent bit. You can either use Mona or of course Cattle if you want for a healer, but I would rather try to play into more of her main team and go for the Mona the healer here. Now when it does come down to the navigator that you're going to want to use with this, I would definitely suggest going ahead and going with our girl Okeon here. You could very well use Puppet, but I feel like if you're already pairing her with that much sustain, there's no real need to use her with Puppet, at least there, unless you really just want that extra buff. Now as for Wonder himself, I know someone actually told me to go over some personas that we can put on the team currently for this character. I would definitely say if you're single trying to build this character alone here, having Pale Rider here is absolutely amazing. If you have Unicorn, go ahead and bring Unicorn, because of course, just in case you do get hit with a debuff or something of that sort, you want to be able to cleanse it. If your Pale Rider is kind of built like mine, then you don't technically need the cleanser too much unless you really want to risk it. But just having, of course, a Curse of a Blessed persona on your team is actually pretty darn nice. And then as for the last one, I would like to say, to be honest, just to help her out, I would say maybe another persona that's mainly of a buffer. So if you can go ahead and get another buffer here, it doesn't matter who it can be, just someone who can attack or at least help out your attack a little bit more, that may come in handy. Or even using a side character is perfect as well, because then you're actually able to get off that extra, I think it's defense down on this persona itself here. Yep, which gives you the reduce in defense, allowing her to actually kind of you know, get the best that she can get for this. But overall, that is it for our Ren build guide here. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to sit back, or at least not sit back, sorry. Be sure to sit up and let me know in the comment sections here. We're gonna get this posted as fast as possible. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, everybody, peace out.